Good evening, all you heroes out there. My name is Levi Lalonde, and today we're going to be recapping the Sheffield Regional License Exam Tournament that took place in the United Kingdom over this past weekend. Bright and early on the Saturday morning of May 6, 2023, we saw 104 players line up at Patriot Games to get ready to compete their hearts out. This was the first in-person international event of the competitive season, so there could not be more excitement in the air. Even with our time zone difference, tons and tons of US players were early to rise to catch all of the action on stream, including myself. I commentated the event remotely alongside Nilmerg and Jesse Cervini, and the UK's player base delivered a very interesting spectrum of characters for us to analyze the games of. Taking a look at the character breakdown here, we can see some very usual and some very peculiar choices. We saw top meta characters like Jiro, Eraserhead, and All Might 3 registered en masse, but then some more peculiar choices showed up in droves like Nomu, Fourth Kind, and Endeavor 2. Ever since Florida's regional license exam, we've seen a lot of players shift to some very beefy 5-hand-sized characters. So while we weren't entirely caught by surprise, it was still exciting to see these off-meta characters show up. And so, as all the players settled in, we kicked off day one with 7 clean rounds of Swiss in order to find out who our best 16 players in the room were who were going to move on to the top cut bracket for day 2. Jesse and I kicked off the tournament with a very thematic matchup, featuring both a character and a player that we see a lot more of throughout this tournament. Nathan James was one of our 3 Endeavor players in the roster and, as you can see via his mat, was the EU national champion of last competitive season. Proving himself very worthy of that title, he showed us a fiery match between his rival All Might, piloted by Ben Moten, showing off the brute strength and tankiness that Endeavor 2 is slowly becoming known for. For the next round, Jesse and I got to feature Brett Pendragon, one of the esteemed 32 competitors from the Hero League Championship of last season. He showed us an incredibly good time with a very funky Ashido Mina deck that played tons of random attacks off of the top of her deck. The fun did not stop there though, as when the chips were down, we actually saw Brett side into Ball Might for some amazing home run plays.
Because we're drawing it with the award the victor play. We're drawing it. Our next check has +2. Oh my god. Oh my god. I'm freaking out now. No, I'm freaking out.
God.
Oh my god, he's thinking about it. He's thinking about it. There it is. There it is. It's coming back down. It's coming back down.
4.
Now, round 3 brought in one of the most well-known players of the region, Mr. Mike Hardiman, with one of the most infamous deck types going around right now, True Form All Might. This new deck made a massive splash at the recent Florida RLE with its signature one-hit kill style by going all in on a Detroit Smash for a devastatingly large, powerful, and EX move. This deck really rose to prominence via the new ways to take momentum that have entered our card pool, and we really saw how valuable that resource was as Hardiman and John Bell both played a very entertaining tug of war with momentum.
Like,
We're gonna draw some cards.
Alright, we're gonna steal your momentum.
Boopy.
Well, you're not, like, here's the thing, is like, we still have, like, here we go. We're gonna now go into, we're now battling over that singular momentum. Oh my god. We're gonna battle again. Here we go. We have the, and another one. We're just captured. Like, okay.
Now round 4 set aside the heroes of the world to take us into a villainous mirror match. Ricky Gopal and Declan Savage both ran into each other with Shigaraki 1, and a very cutthroat game ensued as both players fought tooth and nail to try and touch and decay each other to activate that devastating burn damage that Tomura can put out. Famous for pressuring the rivals' resources as well, we saw these guys try to top the Capture Evildoers chain from the last round as we saw 3 Evil Gaze activations between them, resulting in a massive decay of foundations.
Away with this awesome Evil Gaze enhance. If we have that full block here, this is going to be super punishing, losing 50% of our board. Oh, he says, I lose a foundation, you lose a foundation.
Oh! The gaze. Oh, come on. Let's have a gaze war here. Come on, one more.
Oh my god. I cannot handle.
Now round 5 brought some more Earth action into the stream. It is no secret how prominent the Earth symbol has been lately, gathering tons and tons of tops on a multitude of characters as players continue to explore how far they can take it in various ways. This time, we saw Billy Shoals enable it incredibly well on Rikido Sato, with his incredibly versatile ability to burn his cards away and filter for new ones, and of course, apply even more stats onto his attacks. A combination of abilities that led to a very intense match between he and Jamie Morgan, being one of the many Kyoka Jiro pilots in this tournament. Now round 6 brought us even more Shigaraki limelight, but this time on his newest incarnation from set 4, Shigaraki 3. We saw Liam Chauner bring in an extremely cruel order build, utilizing searing glacial storms to reset the rival stage and bring even further pain from all of Shigaraki's check hacking, card draw, and immense board pressure. Dan Austin put up a heck of a fight though, wielding the hero who claimed the HLC victory title last season, Midnight herself. Now, as thrilling as these Swiss rounds were, they did eventually have to come to a close. So, as we dug in for the 7th and final round, we were in for an absolute treat, as Momo Yaoyorozu finally took to the fray, piloted by yet another HLC participant, Greg Moss. With her signature defense and weapon toolboxing, Momo was more than ready to play a long game. But that's not to say the pressure wasn't on us, as Connor Middlemass brought Nomu all the way into this last round and really surprised us with the amount of massive damage he was able to throw around, especially with some more unexpected attacks.
It's not really something that we have to respect.
Is that a resolute rushdown?
Connor.
7 rounds and a ton of extremely hype plays said and done. 16 of our players and characters came out above the rest to qualify for Day 2's top cut bracket. The slew of characters was interesting to say the least. A trio of Jiros had of course made their way there, not unsurprising as she stood the test of time as one of the strongest decks even all the way back to the very first days of the game. What came next though threw us all for a fiery loop as we looked at all 3 Endeavor 2 players that had registered the character finding their way into our top cuts for a 100% conversion rate. After him, a pair of fourth kinds came right behind, as well as a singular Nomu for a trio of very beefy, aggressive characters. We also saw a slew of mid-range and defensive decks with a singular All Might 3, Kirishima 2, Shigaraki 1 and 3, and of course Momo all standing above the rest. A single Tokoyami held the 7-hand size aggro torch, a surprising metric given how strong that character has continued to prove himself even as they continue to keep banning his cards. Lastly, our favorite wacky Mina deck that we saw so early in the day also squeaked its way into the top 16. Now, with such a wide array of known and unknown entities heading in, Day 2 was shaping up to be quite a spectacle. The bracket postured some very interesting matchups, but above all else, we decided it was time to see what this lone Kirishima 2 could show us. A character so strong in the past that he received some very harsh erratas, so everyone was eager to see Kai boast his signature offense and defense, resource-efficient, hardening playstyle even through his nerfs. And not only did he strut, he proved himself as one of the world's biggest Kirishima fans. This guy showed us very few cards in his deck without Red Riot on them, as well as a killer Kirishima tattoo. All his style though was not quite enough to stop the relentless onslaught from Connor and his fourth kind deck. With this character's ability to cheat difficulty curves and put massive damage moves on the table alongside equally as massive board pressure, it is very easy to see how a pair of these guys blew through the competition and made their way into top cuts. Next up, our top 8 round featured an interesting pair of players. We saw Liam back again from day 1 making his return on stream, as well as the first appearance of Philip C, yet another HLC participant from last year and the second place finalist of that event. Still rocking his same Air Jiro deck, he sought to utilize her ridiculous amount of speed and damage pump on top of her scouting abilities to bulldoze his way through Swiss and into the top cuts. But it was not quite enough to save him from the hands of Shigaraki, especially after we saw Liam throw down an extremely aggressive turn off the back of a few unique little blue cards.
And we're just gonna get rid of one of these requesting or not requesting releases.
Interesting. That's a very, very aggressive play. That's a very, very aggressive play, man. He might.
And the other.
Okay, it's starting to make a lot more sense now. God,
Yes.
do you have another 1.3?
I mean, we can certainly. Oh, my.
Now, top 4 really began to heat up as we said hi again to Nathan James, still demolishing his way through top cuts with the Earth Endeavor deck, combining Endeavor and the Earth symbol's powerful damage reduction to create a truly resilient engine that also sought to throw some very, very mighty prominence burns. At the end of the day, though, it was not enough to stop Grant Padley's tried and true Jiro stringing together some devastating series of attacks to obliterate even Nathan's staggering defense. Now finally, it was time to line up the grand finals. Hot off the heels of his hair-thin semifinals victory on stream, Grant Padley had all the momentum both literally and figuratively, and he was ready to send his rival for an absolute loop. It wasn't going to be easy though. We had already seen on stream what Connor's fourth kind deck was capable of, and now even more was on the line. This match was for all the marbles, and both players delivered to us an amazing show and displayed all of the game knowledge and skill expression that had gotten them this far. In the end though, only one of them could stand at the top, and the dust had to be settled eventually. After a thrilling back and forth, these two had pushed each other all the way into a tie-breaking Game 3, and Grant pulled out every single stop, stringing every specialized sound waves that he could sift his way through Fourth Kind's massive 34 health pool on a paltry amount of foundations no less. Grant weaved and maneuvered his way to victory, coming all the way down to some expert use of his flash attacks across the games, sometimes stacking his rival's deck to only be able to draw useless low blocks for his high attacks, or just maneuvering enough of them to stop his rival from drawing any blocks in the slightest. Grant took Connor down and secured himself the winner of the Sheffield UK Regional License Exam.
Oh, it's not.
No, it is our high block, but it is not an attack, and that he's not going to be able to pick it up, and that we're going to get the other sound waves coming in, flash after flash after flash. He says, you've got every foundation on the board, you've got every enhance in the game, you've got the card draw, you've got the reset, you've got the ready, you're ready to challenge the fakes as well. None of that matters. These are my moves, not your moves. My interaction, not your interaction. Sound waves after sound waves after sound waves, pumping damage successively onto our 3 damage move, as Jesse Cervini and I had ourselves a nice long stretch after a very intense weekend of MHA CCG. We congratulated Grant on his amazing performance, and with all that dancing, it looked like he congratulated himself quite a bit. We closed the day on yet another action-packed event. Big shoutouts to our UK player base, our TOs, our judges, and anyone else involved in making this weekend happen. And as for all you US players watching out there, don't worry, because you'll be able to get in on the action soon too. In just a few weeks, we've got the regional license exam in Kansas City, and I hope to see you all there, because we have to remind our UK players that they're not the only country capable of going plus ultra.